I'm very protective over the Lion King characters, by which I mean I grew up worshipping this film. I haven't watched it so much in recent years, but certainly growing up, I probably watched it at least once a week, every week for about 10 years. This was my very strong obsession. And now as an adult, when I watch shorts or adaptations or spin-offs, I'm looking for something specific. And that's mainly the characters being true to who they are and providing a quality representation of that world. And when it comes to Circle of Life and Environmental Fable, I have to say it pretty much hits the mark. This, I watched on YouTube, I have to point that out. This was originally shown in Epcot in Florida in the mid-90s. And this is quite a short, I think it's 15 minutes. I haven't got the time in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's around 15 minutes. A short look at what happens when humans get hold of the rainforests and the natural beauty of the world. It's told through the perspective of Timon and Pumbaa and adult Simba. And Timon and Pumbaa are currently planning on building their Hakuna Matata village. And in order to do that, they're chopping down trees and trying to make room for it. But Simba, who is obviously much older and much wiser now, knows that this isn't right. And he starts to tell them a story. And he tells them the story of what happens when humanity gets their paws into natural landscapes and all of the chaos that can cause and what greed does to the environment. And I don't know how Simba knows this. I'm not entirely sure. But as he tells us this story, clips appear on screen of buildings and civilization becoming more and more vast and everything becoming less natural and more man-made. And obviously it shows us fire and destruction and how terrible things can turn out. This is obviously aimed at children, so it doesn't get too severe. We don't have animals being ripped apart and packs of animals dying in puddles because of how awful things are. It is watchable and viewable in that sense, but it's still pretty powerful and does get the message across quite well. The opening actually is very beautiful. The opening sequence before we get to the animation aspect is just a bunch of clips of animals in their natural habitats. Bears and other animals. Bears are the ones that came to my mind. But actual real life live action clips of animals. And for me that was really exciting. But I imagine if you're a young child sitting in Epcot, obviously this was how it was originally intended to be viewed, and all of these wonderful wild animals are on the big screen, some of which you may have seen in the park, it would have been quite magical. So although it is quite a serious topic, in fact it's an exceptionally serious topic of course, I think it delivered the message really well, and importantly Timon and Pumbaa got the message. At the end of it, it wasn't like they were just brushing it off. They kind of began to realise what was happening and that they were contributing to that by chopping down the trees to make a village of their own. And obviously villages need to be made for people to cohabit, but obviously Timon and Pumbaa do not need to make a village to enjoy their life and live fruitfully. So it's a really powerful message. I think it does it very well. Some of the clips are quite striking. And let's just face it, this was made in 1995 and humanity hasn't learned anything. Yes, we are recycling more. Yes, we are trying to lower emissions. But at the end of the day, large companies are still constructing massive buildings. They're still digging places where they shouldn't be. Trees are still being chopped down constantly. Obviously, this film hasn't affected too many people in the right way because we're not really making much of a difference globally. But then the people who are watching this, the families at Epcot, are not the ones who can make the big difference. They should show this film to every parent who has a child. Obviously, Amy, that's a pointless thing to say. To every parent who is in charge of decision-making in big companies. If you carry on with this, there will not be a world for your children to enjoy. It's powerful. It does the job. It does the job well. It's an interesting approach to telling the story. I think there were maybe one too many live action clips. I would have liked a little bit more animation, but ultimately I think it blends the two well. It gets the message across really effectively. It closed in 2018, so it had a very good run at Epcot. I would have liked to have... I've never been to Epcot, but I would have liked to have seen it there. It would have been quite an interesting experience. And obviously, because it had such a long run of 23 years, it's safe to say that it is quite timeless. Unfortunately, it's quite timeless. Because even though the clips in it are quite dated now, the effects are still the same. Nothing's changed. Things have only got worse. If you like The Lion King, give it a watch. But I think it's something that is important for pretty much everybody.